Very cool. So far, so good. That's a T-pose. There's one character is T-pose right back there. Today, I'm going to be looking at one of my first animation projects in Unreal and talking about a challenge that I did in which I created it. I was part of an Epic Games ArtStation-based learning challenge, which forced me to create this sci-fi short in about 4 weeks. Let's play it from the top. Alright, cool. So I want to talk through a bunch of things here. There's like a lot of cool stuff in this. There's some stuff I'm really proud of. There's some stuff that I could go without. So first of all, we have this cool whip cut, and then the title work comes in time. I remember I got notes early on about this shot that it was like my concrete was too smooth and stuff, so I went really hard with a bunch of the decals and stuff, like you know, this stuff around here, like these guys and stuff. So you meet our first character here. Now this is, you will recognize this. You've seen this out there before if you're a CG person and you're out there in the world. This is the Mixamo Racer guy. You've seen everybody and their mom use this guy. It's a good model. It's really good. Now if you look super closely here, I have retextured the model. Now it's still red, but I've got like the stripe here and stuff, and that's not really in the original. So I'm really proud of this. Is great. There's like a lot going on here. I'm paying attention to the cinematography. Like I originally just had these like sort of flat walls, and if I remember right, I actually made the walls myself in Substance using a specific like texture and stuff, like, and using the normal map to kind of like catch the light a little bit. He's walking through a room here, and the lighting has like layers to it, and the whole point is to add depth to the room. Now you can't tell, I actually cut this because it didn't like quite work. There's a whole staircase back here. Like the original idea was to start the shot like up in this door up here, and he was gonna walk all the way down, but that got really technically complicated with the mocap, so it was impossible. So this scene is really fun because there's like a really great Easter egg in here. So these cameras, these are just the standard Epic camera mesh that I kit bashed using a bunch of ArtStation assets that I bought. So like all of these little details here and stuff that catch the light, I took these cameras, I put all of these little gizmos and stuff on them. Big problem for me in this shot is the lack of finger mocap. I didn't have my Rococo gloves at this point. Well, I had my Rococo suit that I used to do all of this. Having the fingers, it's really helpful. What's great about this little cut back and forth here is like it is the same mocap asset, and we are cutting towards a screen. Look at this transition here. So we've got this shot, he's putting his arms up, yay, cool, love it, and then putting it down, and then we transition from that screen back to behind him walking towards all of these airships. I want to talk about this crowd for a second here. I got a shout out to everybody's favorite person, Ian Hubert, who put so many of his models available on Patreon. They're Ian's 3D scanned crowd actors, but I put a material on them that makes them move slightly. You get the idea that there's more ships, like it leads out of the frame, so it's like there's definitely more going on here. The colors all match the characters, so like you have our guy with the white stripes up front, and then he's got the red stripes in front of his ship. These are all kit bashed out of like a mecha pack that I bought. Most of these were. This, I believe, was actually hand modeled. This ship was mostly hand modeled, like mostly hand modeled there, and all of these again got textured in Substance. But like they each have a personality for the driver, so as we cut to this next shot, you can see there's this guy, and like I thought it was really cool, the idea of like having a Neo Tokyo style sci-fi Japanese racer. Like I wanted his ship to be like this crazy, you're seeing half of the ship right now. I wanted his ship to be this like crazy long thing, but I wanted his cockpit to just be like this tiny house just sitting on top of it. And I thought it would be really cool if it was like sort of tech augmented. This is a female character. I actually like resculpted the racer asset to make a female version. You can see like there's a little bit more of like a curve to the anatomy here, and like I've widened the hips and sort of extruded the chest area. But then for some reason, we don't see our guys down here where they were. Now I wanted to have entire pit crews and stuff running around. Ultimately, that's a really tough bill, you know? Some props in the background here, but what's going on in all this empty space here? And then there's a big old repeating texture right here. Stuff we could improve if we had more time. We're back with our lead racer here, and I love this shot so much. This is the shot that sort of like sets up the rivalry of all the racers like lined up outside. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. That's a T-pose. Right back there, you can't see it right here. There's one character is T-posed right back there. Oh my gosh, that's kind of embarrassing. That's really funny. So we have the character in the right place, but she's T-posed. That racer is T-posed. Oh, nice. I love this. I'm just gonna let the sequence play. I love this. You can also see the countdown in the background. I think I did that in After Effects. And I like that we can see all of our characters here. This is like, I don't know, like Speed Racer or something. Once again, it's a little weird that there's like all the same helmet, but oh man, I'm so into it. So we cut to something that's like a little bit less awesome. So like we're out on this desert floor, which is a really lovely place to stage like an airship race. But this first shot is gross to me. This was done at a time where I was learning a lot of the fundamentals of Unreal Sequencer, but I did not have time to also teach myself the fundamentals of Houdini, which you should know, even in some of the more high-profile Unreal projects, people are rendering stuff in Houdini and they are overlaying things in these situations. This was a smoke texture that I could find. I think this is maybe even in the starter pack, and I just took it and I made it more orange. We're gonna talk about photorealism a little bit. So like this whole smoke region here is like, it's a lot darker than we would expect. We would expect light smoke in the daytime, that like the sun was sort of kicking up. I have like all this desert floor here, and I just got this texture from like a site like Pexels or something like that, because anyone who's ever done Unreal stuff, like the first thing that you're gonna wanna do when you make a Unreal project is you're gonna wanna zoom everything way the heck out, because like it's free drone shots without having to like get your FAA certification like you would have to in real life. Everything in this shot is just like overlaid over a giant texture, and it works. The airships are maybe still a little too big for what is like kind of almost a satellite photo. This shot's cool. I love the skull here. You can see immediately there's super tough shadows, and like we have a big white sky out here. So we should have more fill light in the area down here. Like we should be able to see more detail. So this is something that's gotten a lot easier since Unreal 5 came out. This was done in 4.26, so we don't have Lumen yet. We don't have stuff like that. We have like the ability to do reflection captures, and I think even RTX GI hadn't come out when I had done this project. I could be wrong, but that's just where we were at the time. This is fun. We got this POV shot when we can see that we're moving towards this big canyon here. We're cutting back to the 4 shot to see all of our racers and stuff. And then we're cutting to each of their vehicles. This one flips over, skids out. That was really hard to animate. This one here is like on fire on the side of the rock. And the two in the center end up making it through the canyon. This here is supposed to be like the back of the canyon. So they go through that canyon and then like out into here, but I'm not sure that really reads. And the whole thing happens a little too quickly. Like you're kind of just missing the story. Could use a few more frames to like let the audience's eyes adjust and all that. I love this shot because you can really see like the detail work in both of the ships, and you can also like really see the difference between the characters here. Like you have this like sort of old faithful, almost steampunk like ship that's like sort of funny looking and like gives you the idea of this quirky old character. And then you've got the newfangled one that like takes some nods from like the space shuttle. And this is my first React video. I am way too excited about like drawing things on the screen. Got some this is pod racing action. And then you can see, like, I've gone pretty hard and done the texture work. I actually did the characters in Quixel Mixer, so these weren't Substance for some reason. I think it was just because I wanted access to high quality textures for free, so I wanted to use the bridge system, even though the masking's not as good as in Substance, or at least it wasn't at the time. I think Mixer's gotten a lot better. I like hand painted this visor so you can see where it's chipped. This is actually what I think like the most disappointing part of the film is for me. We come to the end here and stuff, and it's neck and neck, and we got the tension and stuff. They're looking at each other, and we're like missing a shot. So the idea was here, so this character will like speed ahead and then pass this other guy by. So he looks and sees what happens, double takes, and then looks back, and then he crosses the finish line. Did he finish first or second? Well, we find out here in the end. What would really have clinched it for me right there is if we had like him sort of just like put his arms up and just like, ah, dang it, like he sped ahead of me, because the whole like leave him in the dust thing is like, once again, sort of limited by how good my particle effects are. So it just like, it doesn't quite read correctly. I would have loved to have like seen some steam coming off of some like little pistons at the side as like the ship like sort of like lowers itself down. So we have no signs that they just landed here. We don't have like imprints on the sand or anything like that from what happened. The way I would have fixed this shot is I would have just like included a couple of drones. Like I would have like just drawn a couple of little flying gizmos over here, and they would have like just kind of hovered around, but I just didn't have time. Like this was something I had to do in my spare time, and just one other thing I'm really proud of here, the way that ends, it ends the way it starts. So big sort of like whip pan in, whip pan out. This is the ArtStation page for it. This is kind of cool because this actually like documents the entire process here. You can see that all of these boards made it into the very end. Like you've got a guy showing off to the camera, they're standing underneath the ship. Originally I wanted to put faces into this and like virtual production like put recorded faces into the helmets, but it just became too difficult. I was reading a lot of Mobius at the time, so I was looking at like weird Mobius spaceships, but I was thinking it'd be really cool to have a world where all of these different ships like kind of coexist, so you have like a speed racer ship next to like an F-Zero ship next to a rinky-dink old crapper. There are these really cool old arches that are naturally occurring arches in certain beaches in Morocco. One of these things has actually crashed into them, and that was sort of the idea, to have them go through this arch, but like I kind of hedged my bets and like put a little Utah in there too. So we had 4 weeks to make this stuff, and we also had to go through a bunch of epic online learning content at the same time. So like at the same time that I'm doing my layouts, I'm also learning how to use like the blocking system for the first time. You know, I'm taking mega scans and I'm kit bashing them together. Javier and Deepak were the judges on this one. These guys are super nice. Point I'm like 80%, 70% there, something like that. I got my ships, it's looking really neat. In Unreal, things go from like concept to completion really fast. There's my storyboards, and like there's all of my gray boxing work, and then like suddenly I have like art, and then like at that point there's not much to do besides just like take it all the way to animation. So I rendered everything in 4K. This was not a movie render queue thing at the time. Movie render queue was not the beast that it is, and I don't think William Faucher had like yet published his master's thesis on like the best way to use movie render queue. I'm kidding, but that video helped a lot of people. I did Blender for my primary content creation suite. I used Substance and Mixer for my textures. Megascans were a big part of how I brought things over. I used Joe Garth's Brushify pack to do a lot of the landscape stuff that I couldn't accomplish with just the Megascans. Mixamo was where I found my character models. I did all my animations with my Rococo suit. I, at one point, followed a tutorial that I found online to create a slight barrel distortion for some of my wide shots. That was really cool. I recorded a Vive tracker to get like some of my camera jiggle, like sort of copying, pasting an additive layer for most of that stuff. And I did the edit and resolve. I did all the color grading in Engine, so it looks pretty nice. It's pretty basic contrast passes, but like that was how I did the thing. And you know what? The project didn't even place. It was like, of like the 60 people who like put together stuff and put it in this thing. I ended up, I think it wasn't even honorable mentions. It was like judges' faves or something. It was like something that sounded cool, but it was like really obvious that I didn't even make the list. So that's my first, you know, Unreal short film. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff like this, talking about the process of filmmaking in Unreal, because I'm not done with this. Like, I love doing the VTuber stuff. I love making movies too. So we're going to be making movies too.